Imagine waking up in a mysterious world filled with magic, monsters, and zero explanation. That is exactly what happens to Jason. In today's video, we follow Jason's chaotic first day where he faces off against cannibals, cultists, and wizards. He needs courage, wit, and magic to survive. But honestly, his first priority is just finding a pair of pants. Join us as we explore how Jason carves out a place for himself in a land that feels strange, yet hauntingly familiar. From battling crime lords to negotiating with gods, his journey from victim to adventurer is anything but normal. But there is a twist. Jason wants to be the hero, but the universe gave him the darkest powers imaginable. Can you really be the good guy when your magic is pure evil? You might notice that the character starts off bald in the beginning, but I decided to give him hair later on, and he's keeping the hair. Please forgive me if there are any small mistakes or if the images aren't 100% perfect yet. I hope you enjoy the story regardless.
Imagine waking up. You expect the warmth of your duvet and the comfort of your Darth Vader boxer shorts. Instead, you feel grass, cool, lush grass, on your unmentionables. Meet Jason Asano. He went to bed after a night of video games and woke up face down in a garden, completely naked. And it gets weirder. He sits up, feeling refreshed, but smooth. Too smooth. He realizes his hair is gone. Not just on his head, but his eyebrows, his chest, and everywhere. He's been waxed like a surfboard. Jason stands up to assess the situation. He's boxed in by massive prickly hedges. The sun is blazing. He's risking a full-body sunburn, and he has no idea where he is. He starts walking, trying to find a way out, when suddenly, sci-fi happens. A floating touchscreen appears in thin air. It's a quest log. The system wants him to explore the maze, and the reward? Thank God, it's pants. Jason thinks he's hallucinating. Maybe a brain tumor? Maybe he's in a really nice asylum? But then he looks up. There's the sun, there's the moon, and then there is a second moon. Unless NASA has been keeping secrets, Jason is definitely not on Earth anymore. More screens pop up. It's a full character sheet. Race, Outworlder. Rank, Normal. He has no magical essences, but he has racial abilities. A map, an inventory, and something called Mysterious Stranger. Jason tests the system. He opens a map which functions exactly like a video game. He can zoom in and out with his mind. When he zooms all the way out, he sees the world. It looks like Earth, but wrong. Continents are mashed together, New Zealand is gone, and Africa is disconnected from Europe. According to the GPS, he's somewhere near Namibia, but instead of a desert, he's in a lush green hedge maze. Next, he checks his inventory. There's one item inside. He reaches into the hologram and physically pulls out a red token. It's the Authority of the World Phoenix. He can read the alien writing on it thanks to his Mysterious Stranger ability, which apparently translates languages automatically. He shoves the token back into the screen, and it vanishes into digital storage. Okay, hallucinations are one thing, but magical dimensional storage? This is real. Jason decides to Robert Frost it and picks a path at random. He's just walking along, hoping for pants, when he hears a rustle in the bushes. Jade? Buenos dias? Guten Morgen? Nothing. Then the system chimes in again. No shirt, no shoes, no service. Objective: find out why there are monsters here. Bonus objective: defeat 10 of them to win some shoes. Before he can process that, a blur shoots out of the hedge and latches onto his face. Sharp claws dig into his scalp. Jason panics. He rips the thing off his head, taking a chunk of skin with it, and slams it into the ground. Adrenaline takes over. He smashes the creature into the dirt over and over again until it stops moving. He has defeated a potent hamster. It's a hamster the size of a human head. Jason is bleeding, naked, bald, and terrified, standing over the corpse of a steroid-infused rodent. And then, the ultimate gamer moment happens. Would you like to loot? Jason read the screen again. Would you like to loot potent hamster? Yes? The body of the dead creature made a fizzing sound, like a rapid chemical reaction. The body started rapidly melting, first the flesh, then even the skeleton, dissolving into rainbow-colored smoke. It seemed pretty until it hit Jason with a stench thick as cheese, like burned hair and rotting meat. He scrambled away to escape the rancid smell, dry heaving on all fours. Looking over as he hacked out coughs, he saw the creature's body had vanished, as if never existing at all. He ignored the window that popped up, dropping onto his back in the soft grass. I hate this, he told the sky. I'm naked, bleeding, and have no idea where I am. I can't think of any better explanation for what's happening than I've lost my bloody mind. Worst of all, I'm going to get sunburnt in places that don't see a lot of outdoor activity. He sat up with a groan, reading the screen waiting for him. Monster Core has been added to your inventory. Healing Unguent has been added to your inventory. 10 lesser spirit coins have been added to your inventory. Oh, straight into the inventory. That place that lets me make things appear and disappear? I've definitely gone insane. Now familiar with opening and closing the screens, the inventory window appeared with a simple thought. 2 more of the 40 grids were now occupied with little icons, while what appeared to be a currency counter had the number 10 listed over one of the coin symbols. Jason took out the item called Healing Unguent. It was a small, round tin, reminding Jason of the nasty rubbing medicine his Nana would put on scrapes when he was a kid. At least this tin wasn't rusty, like the one that had been under Nana's laundry sink longer than Jason had been alive. Nana was his maternal grandmother, while his father's mother was strictly grandmother. She was a retired otorhinolaryngologist and had no truck with rusty tins of ointment. He took a closer look at the tin in his hand. Item: Healing Unguent, topical healing ointment. Inexpensive concoction ideal for superficial injuries. Apply directly to injuries to heal. Effect reduced on bronze rank or higher individuals. Uses remaining 5 by 5. Unlike the tablet, the magic screens had no problem identifying the tin. Jason pulled off the lid to discover it really did look and smell like the ointment under Nana's laundry sink. There was a sharp medical smell that cut through even the lingering stench of the dead creature. As for the contents, it was an oily substance that looked like butterscotch sauce made from dubiously sourced ingredients. How did I get ointment from a hamster? How did it come in a tin? With an exploratory finger, he gently prodded the wound on his head. Ow! The oversized hamster teeth had dug into his scalp. The blood was still running down the front and side of his head. Can't hurt to try, I guess. At least there's no hair to get in the way. He took some of the ointment and smeared it carefully onto the wound, which immediately started to sting. Healing Unguent. The stinging faded away rapidly, the pain from the wound itself quickly following. Jason delicately poked the affected area, but while it was still wet with blood and ointment, he could find no trace of the injury. Sure, he said. If you're going to have medicine appear out of thin air, why not make it magically potent? Jason placed the tin back in his inventory and pulled out the other icon. What appeared in his hand was a small red-brown gem in the shape of a teardrop. Item: Monster Core. The magic core of a lesser monster. Effect, common component for ritual magic and magic item creation. Oh, it's for magic rituals. I'm apparently in a video game now, so of course magic is a thing. Jason sighed as he put the monster core back in his inventory. Maybe I've had an aneurysm, and this is just my dying brain trying to sort things out as it shuts down. He thought about that for a moment. His sister would be the one to find his body. She'd have her little girl in tow, coming to see Uncle Jason. Wow, I'm actually hoping this whole horrible experience is real. That's the way, Jason. Indulge the delusion. Jason looked at the coin counter in his inventory. How do I take that out? He tried tapping on the number. You have 10 lesser spirit coins. How many would you like to withdraw? One, I guess. A coin appeared in Jason's hand. It was a washed-out blue color with a metallic sheen, but feeling more like glass to the touch. Item, lesser spirit coin. An impure distillation of raw magic. Used to fuel lesser rank magic items or as a ritual component. Jason peered at the figure embossed on the coin. Looking closer, it was an image of Jason himself, giving a thumbs up. What? He turned the coin over to look at the other side, which was engraved with text. Product of Jason, good day, mate. He ran a hand over his face. Somehow, the coin itself was more ridiculous than the fact that he pulled it out of thin air. I've definitely gone insane. When the slippery creature latched its teeth onto his inner thigh, Jason yelled as much out of panic as pain. He still had no pants, and that was much too close to the danger zone. He grabbed the long, slippery body, gripping down hard and yanking it off his leg. He screamed again as it took a chunk of thigh with it, but kept his grip and started flailing the creature into the prickly hedge. You have defeated Flying Eel. Defeat lesser monsters, 9-10. Jason dropped to the ground, pulled out a jar of healing unguent, and started rubbing it on the wound, ignored the blood coming out of it. Why can an eel fly? He looked down at the wound, high up the inside of his thigh. The eel had taken a decent gouge out of him, so the stinging lingered as the wound slowly closed. Even so, the ability to watch an injury vanish in front of his eyes was amazing. After 9 encounters with different creatures, Jason had plenty of chances to see it, going through almost 3 full tins of the unguent. He used a full tin from one fight alone against something called a malicious hedgehog. One pleasant discovery was that he didn't have to stand in the stinking smoke that came off them after they were looted. So long as he touched the creature, he could back away before accepting. Even as he was far away from the dissolving creature, the loot went straight into his inventory. The only problem was that any of the creature's blood that got onto him would dissolve away as well, giving Jason a full dose of the stink. Every creature Jason looted gave out 1 lesser monster core and exactly 10 spirit coins. Most also produced additional, often nonsensical rewards. Tins of healing ointment were mercifully common, but mostly he received animal parts. That would have been understandable enough, given that he was killing creatures, but they arrived in his inventory already cut and packaged. The bundle of spines he received from the malicious hedgehog were bound with string, while the meat of the tyrannical pheasant came neatly wrapped in deli paper. The animal parts were all listed as crafting materials, some of which seemed to be for cooking. While he did enjoy trying new food, he wasn't quite ready to put monster meat on his plate. While he waited for the wound to heal, he checked the map again. He had a decent-sized chunk of the hedge maze mapped out now, but it was quite large, and he'd met a lot of dead ends. He plotted out his next pathway and set out again. There was a flower growing in the middle of the pathway. Everywhere else Jason had been, there was only uniform hedges and neatly cut grass. He watched it from a safe distance, But to all observation, it was just a plant. Jason moved forward cautiously, eyes glued to the flower. He gave it as wide a berth as he could, but just when he thought he had passed without incident, the flower twitched, spraying spores all over him. He got dizzy and fell to the ground, then felt something on his leg. A vine with a bulbous head had grown out of the ground near the flower stem and was now winding its way around his leg. He tried to kick away, but his head was swimming and he flailed ineffectually. The vine kept growing, crawling up his body. The bulbous head of the vine opened up, clamping onto his head like a lamprey. Jason clenched his teeth, fighting through the haze with anger. He reached down, grabbed the vine with both hands, and started hauling on it. The ground under the flower bulged, soil spilling away as a grotesque shape emerged from the earth. It looked like a root vegetable, but was the size and shape of a baby. The vine was attached to its stomach like an umbilical cord, while the flower grew out of its head. Jason let go of the vine, crawling over to the main body and grabbing it in both hands. He lifted it up, then brought it down on his knee, smashing it again and again. "People are vegetarians," he yelled through gritted teeth, every word punctuating a strike to the knee. "Vegetables aren't people-tarians." With a final shout, he brought the creature down on his knee with all his strength. The plant monster broke apart like a potato dropped off a building and hitting concrete. You have defeated Carnivorous Mandrake. No shirt, no shoes, no service. Bonus objective complete. Defeat 10 lesser monsters, 10 of 10. Simple footwear has been added to your inventory. Primary quest objective still available. Taking the footwear out of his inventory, he discovered it was a pair of sandals. Although the thick grass was pleasant underfoot, Jason still put them on. That left him standing naked except of a pair of sandals. I think I might hate this place. Jason frowned at the object in his hand. The Carnivorous Mandrake proved to be the most generous monster thus far in terms of loot, producing not only an extra tin of the precious healing unguent, but also something new.
Trowel of the Blood Cult, a gardening implement enchanted to affect certain kinds of plant. Effect: improves health of carnivorous plants.
The trowel looked rather sinister, made out of some kind of black metal with a red sheen. It carried the wear marks of having been used as a planting tool, but also a razor edge that was wholly unnecessary for gardening purposes.
Blood Cult? Jason read unhappily from the item description. Who gardens with an evil trowel? Whose hedge maze is this? Not having anything better, Jason kept the sharp trowel in hand, on the ready for more monsters. After checking his map again, he set off, weapon in hand. Still naked aside from a pair of sandals, he was very careful about where he held it. Jason looked at the well. It was a circle of bricks, the mortar aged and crumbling. There was a wooden bucket and crank, both weathered with age. It was the kind of rustically picturesque feature he could imagine someone putting at the center of their hedge maze. Stranger in a strange land. Objective complete. Explore the hedge maze 1 of 1. Simple pants have been added to your inventory. Quest complete. 100 iron spirit coins have been added to your inventory. Jason gave a fist pump and took the pants out of his inventory. They were made of plain white linen with billowy legs and a very low crotch fit, held up by a drawstring. It's like a Mennonite made some hammer pants. Did I wake up in 1991 rural Pennsylvania? Putting aside fashion concerns, Jason slipped the pants on, walking around experimentally. They were sufficiently roomy that it didn't feel much different to walking around without them. I don't suppose I can get a quest for some boxer shorts? He waited hopefully for a few moments, but no window appeared. Worth a try. After being attacked by so many creatures, Jason was a mess of blood and ointment, even if the wounds had been healed. The result was the white pants being immediately stained red and unguent yellow. With his nudity concern ameliorated, Jason was able to turn his thoughts to other aspects of his situation. He sat down on the edge of the well to think over his next move. The things he was experiencing were clearly impossible, which broadly placed him in one of two situations. One, his faculties were significantly compromised, and his understanding of what he was doing was massively detached from the reality. Brain trauma, hallucinogens, some kind of severe mental break. His knowledge was too shallow and his observation point too subjective to make any definitive assessment. To the best of his understanding, though, none of those options made sense. He was too lucid, too capable of critical thinking. His consciousness wasn't skipping around, glossing over the inconsistencies of a compromised mental state. That being said, his understanding of mental conditions was essentially nil, so that might be what crazy felt like from the inside. The big point going for the mental impairment hypothesis was that the alternative scenario required Jason's most fundamental understandings of reality to be somewhere between woefully incomplete and breathtakingly wrong. Either way, his only real option was to get on with it. If it was all in his head, then it didn't matter what he did. Inversely, if it was real and he ran around acting like it wasn't, the consequences could be dire. He took a deep, calming breath. "All right, Jason," he said, steeling himself. "What's next?" Sooner or later, he would need to find his way out of the maze, but the fact that his quest ended on reaching the well implied there was something special about it. He started by examining the wooden frame, which had a simple crank and rope to lower a bucket, along with a little wooden roof to shield the mechanism from the weather. It only seemed to have worked to a degree, with the rope and bucket both looking the worse for wear. The brickwork was likewise dilapidated, with mortar crumbling at the touch. He stuck his head over the well to look down. To his surprise, iron rungs had been affixed to the inside of the well, leading into darkness below. Secrets of the well. You have discovered a ladder descending into the well. Do you have the courage to explore the depths? Objective: explore the well 0 out of 1. Reward: Awakening Stone. Bonus objective: don't die 0 out of 1. Reward: Essence. Don't die? What kind of quest objective is don't die? He shook his head. Forget that. Reject quest Secrets of the Well? Jason was about to reject the quest when he heard voices coming from somewhere close within the hedge maze.
"I tracked the aura of the mandrake that took my trowel," a gravelly male voice said. "Someone had already killed it, and my trowel was nowhere to be found." "Someone with those adventurers we caught?" another man asked.
"I don't care who they're with," the first voice said. "I'm gonna kill 'em, cook 'em, and eat 'em." "I wanted to try some of that elf girl, but the mistress said we're keeping them all for the sacrifice. Bloody waste if you ask me. Nah, elves ain't good eatin'. Not much meat on them, and what's there is all stringy. That human girl, she's the one you want, lean and tender." "I don't know, Dougal. She looked pretty tough to me, and we always have humans. I just want a little variety is all." "Well, this lot is all spoken for, regardless." Ducked down behind the well, Jason didn't let out a breath until the voices faded into the distance. He ignored the fact that they were talking about elves in the face of a casual discussion on the pros and cons of eating people. Was that real, or just a couple of guys with a weird sense of humor? Cannibals? He gave it some consideration. Normally, cannibals would be right at the top of the crazy pile, but the day Jason was having, it was at least a familiar horror. Then he considered it some more and started climbing down into the well. What kind of lunatic place is this? Jason was not happy with his options. A quest with the explicit objective of don't die wasn't great. But wandering blindly through a maze with cannibals roaming about struck him as an even worse option. What was he going to do? Fight them off with their own trowel?
There were 2 of them, and they were a lot bigger than a tyrannical pheasant. It might have been an evil monster chicken, but it still barely came up to his waist. Even then, it got some savage pecks in.
He didn't have a weapon, so he had to get in behind, reach around, and savagely choke the chicken with both hands. Jason started reconsidering his choice to go down the well when only the second rung down shifted in his hand.
It was set into the brickwork at the top, the shaky mortar apparently ready to give way. Then he thought about himself hanging from a butcher's hook and kept going. Going down a creepy well or dodging cannibals, he muttered unhappily.
For what felt like the 100th time, he wondered where he was, what was going on, and what evil prick dumped him naked right in the middle of it. The well was quite deep, judging from the diminishing light coming from above.
He kept a careful grip on the cold metal rungs as the interior of the well became dank, the sides slick and wet. I'm definitely getting Legionnaire's disease. The light did not penetrate far down the narrow well, and Jason was soon moving entirely by feel. He descended cautiously, each foot carefully seeking out the next rung down. He would occasionally glance up at the shrinking blue circle that was all he could see of the sky, reassuring himself it was still there.
Maybe they're not really cannibals, he told himself. Maybe they're just talking themselves up. Unconvinced, he kept moving down into darkness, barely able to make out his hand on the rung in front of him. He discovered he had reached the bottom when his foot met water instead of the next rung. Some experimental probing revealed it was ankle deep, enough to submerge his sandals in the icy cold. The bottom of the well was flat, but as it turned out, just as slippery as the walls. His feet slid out from under him, and only his hands still gripping the rungs saved him from bashing his head against the side of the well. He ended up sprawled at the bottom of the well, dank water joining the blood and ointment in staining his new pants. Lovely. The advantage of his low perspective was that he found himself looking directly at a slightly darker circle in the wall of what was already a very dark well. He reached out tentatively and found it was a hole, large enough to crawl through. He didn't know if it was the source of the well's water or some kind of drainage tunnel. "No," Jason said, "I'm definitely not interested in crawling in there." Reject quest? Sod off. Jason looked up again at the bright circle of sky, then the dark circle of the tunnel. With a groan, he started probing the pitch-black hole with his hands.